The Second Industrial Revolution in the 1880s saw a large wave of immigration to America. Cities began to grow with large immigrant working-class populations. Given their inherent democratic nature, movie theaters became the people's entertainment of the working class. By 1905, small theaters known as Nickelodeons, due to their 5-cent entry fee, began popping up throughout the immigrant sections of cities. These theaters aired silent movies, universalizing the film's message as viewers did not have to speak English to enjoy. These films dealt with issues of inequality, romance, and violence, all topics of interest to the working class. This is the story of how Talkies revolutionized the American identity. In particular, the Nickelodeons of the poor Lower East Side neighborhoods of New York City were run by Jews. The Warner Brothers studio was founded by the Jewish brothers Sam, Al, Jack, and Harry. At the disapproval of his family and community, Sam Warner was the initial founder of the film studio and brought his brothers into the business. The Warner Brothers' attitude of rebellion from tradition reflects the attitudes of the children of many immigrants in America at the time. With the Johnson-Reed Act of 1924, open immigration to the Americas was significantly cut, isolating these immigrant communities. This can be seen in the data by the sharp decline in immigration from 1920 to 1924. As these communities began to assimilate, they didn't want to be limited by their ethnicity. They wanted to create their own identity. They wanted a unique American identity. Ultimately, how did the Warner Brothers use the turning point of the jazz singer to illustrate the transition from silent to sound in cinema, and as a broader allegory to the birth of a new American identity with the closing of the Golden Door? And why did they use blackface as a representation of the American identity? The jazz singer follows the Rabinowitz family. Jackie, the main character, is the son of a cantor at a synagogue who wants him to follow in his family's footsteps and become a cantor as well. The film starts as a silent film representing the old cinema technology and the tradition and dated viewpoints of the immigrant parents seeking to maintain their immigrant identities. Every scene that Jackie's father is in is silent, as he represents this force of the past and tradition. But Jackie has fallen in love with ragtime. He wants to be a jazz singer. Ultimately, in this scene, Jackie's father stops the music, preventing a young Jackie from singing at a ragtime club. After this scene, Jackie runs away to pursue his own dreams without the limits of his family. The stubborn attitude of Jackie's father symbolizes opponents of Talkies like Aldous Huxley, who believed Talkies to be, quote, the latest and most frightful creation-saving device for the production of standardized amusement. Or the belief that Talkies were destined to provide Europe with the final proof of its pet theory, which is that the United States is a race of morons. As the Warner Brothers were the first to champion sound in movies, they sought to portray their opposition with the past and their technology as the future. These opinions portray the past. The Warner Brothers' gamble on the jazz singer as the first talkie was a success, and unlike the prior opinions, most people saw them as a, quote, new machine. In most lines, the replacement is gradual, but in the show business, nothing can prevent the replacement from being almost instantaneous. Ultimately, talkies were the way of the future, and whether people wanted it or not, silent film would be soon gone. The next time we see Jackie, he is all grown up. He's now a jazz singer living abroad. Jackie Rabinowitz has now changed his name to Jack Robin. He's created his own identity. Here, we find Jackie doing what he loves and pursuing his own identity. Once he finishes his performance, Jackie utters his first spoken words and the first spoken words in cinema history.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you, you ain't heard nothing. You want to hear tut.
Jackie's first words, "You ain't heard nothing yet," represent not only his dream of becoming a famous jazz singer, but also the Warner Brothers' direct message that sound is the future of cinema. This represents the turning point that is the jazz singer. Not only is Jackie empowered to create his own unique Jewish American identity, but this represents the actual turning point from silent to sound in cinema. Finally finding success, Jackie sends a letter to his parents to reconnect. However, his father responds to the letter, "We have no son." Next, Jackie returns home. With all his success, Jackie begins to make promises to his mother about the future.
Mama, darling, if I'm a success in this show, well, we're going to move from here. Oh, yes, we're going to move up in the Bronx. A lot of nice green grass up there and a whole lot of people you know. There's the Ginsbergs, the Guttenbergs, and the Goldbergs. Oh, a whole lot of birds. I don't know them all.
This represents the shift in Jackie's identity to a new, uniquely American identity of consumerism. As he sings to his mother, Jackie is interrupted once more by his father, and the movie returns to silent.
Oh, don't they fly? Blue day, all of them gone. Nothing but...
This represents the unidimensional aspect of tradition and how it prevents Jackie from achieving his potential. Tradition is a force of stagnancy that keeps the next generation from carving their own unique American path. Regardless of his father, Jackie continues to establish his own identity. Now Jackie has found love with a new woman, a Gentile woman, or a woman of non-Jewish descent. Once more, this is a break from tradition. Jackie is no longer confined to his limiting immigrant identity as he is no longer solely Jewish. However, even with this newfound success and identity, Jackie's heritage remains a weight on his shoulders as his father still disapproves of his profession. Even when Jackie has a job on Broadway, his father disapproves. As seen here, Jackie's father believes that Jackie is wasted talent. As Jackie finds more and more success, he becomes more and more torn about his identity. Jackie's new show and role as a jazz singer require him to do blackface. For Jackie, the blackface and jazz are symbols. Jazz originated in the African American South as a uniquely American form of music. It moved north with the Great Migration and gained popularity. Due to their proximity, Jews began to adopt jazz from African Americans and were integral to its success. In the 20th century, the majority of blackface minstrel shows were run by Jews. As a result, blackface and jazz for Jackie are the ultimate American identity, as blackface and jazz are both uniquely American. No longer is Jackie just Jewish, but by performing as a jazz singer, he can achieve his own unique American identity. However, beneath the facade, Jackie remains torn by his identity. Before his last show on Yom Kippur, Jackie's father falls ill and is unable to sing at synagogue. Jackie is faced with the ultimate decision. His Jewish identity calls him to the synagogue, but his girlfriend, consumerism, and American identity call him to his performance. Jackie chooses his father and sings at the synagogue, but not without freeing himself of the past. Ultimately, it is Jackie's new identity that kills his father, as Jackie has found a way to be both Jewish and American. Similarly, the scholar Michael Rogan argues that the jazz singer's protagonist adopts a black mask that kills his father. With the death of his father, Jackie's ultimate freedom is reflected in the final scene of the movie, as Jackie sings in blackface directly to his mother, or Mammy. He has finally given to her the American dream that he promised her earlier in the film. Just as Jackie rids himself of tradition for his new American identity, the jazz singer would serve as the turning point that, quote, completely nullified the silent screen. The legacy of the turning point portrayed by this film is ultimately the formation of a new American identity and the assimilation of immigrants into American culture. This can be seen in Martin Scorsese's 1990 film Goodfellas, which makes reference to the jazz singer. After Ray Liotta's character Henry Hill rats on his friends, he's taken into witness protection and forced to move to the suburbs and take on a new identity. In his prior life as a gangster, he was immersed in Italian culture, but now he no longer is part of that. He's forced to assimilate to become purely American. Ultimately, Jazz Singer and Goodfellas represent turning points as immigrants are forced to compromise their ethnic identities to assimilate to American culture.